here coming to you from Milwaukee, where the Thunder has just beat the Bucks 127 to 116. Weird game. Before we get to that, let's just say Thunder was able to lock down that 6th seed. Super important for them to get a win here. They finished the season on a 5-game winning streak, which, you know, about a week ago looked so unlikely because they had just been really struggling out of the All-Star break. So really great for the Thunder to string some wins together headed into the playoffs. They did not have Paul George, and so for them to be able to come together, get a win without him was awesome. The Bucks also sat a ton of players because they've already locked up the 1 seed. So they were without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they were out without Brook Lopez, and a bunch of others. So really a look at the Bucks that the Thunder hasn't gotten to see before. Bunch of players who, you know, aren't regular starters. And then they played the zone for the entire game, which Billy Donovan was saying he can only think of maybe one other half, like against Brooklyn, where a team played the zone that consistently against them. So funky game. You have, you know, the Bucks not playing anyone, essentially. You have the Thunder without Paul George, and then, you know, for a couple minutes there, it looked like Steven Adams might be out, but he was able to come back into the game. You know, wasn't able to start the second half, but bounced back. Billy Donovan said there was no issues with availability after that point. He had with right shoulder soreness after getting fouled pretty hard there right towards the end of the first half. But yeah, Thunder's on the second night of back-to-back kind of knew that they'd be a little, you know, not have as much energy as we're used to seeing from them. But the combination of that and the zone and a bunch of guys being out, it was a game of threes, essentially. And the Thunder shot amazing from beyond the arc. After the first half, they were shooting above 50% from beyond the arc, and they had missed a bunch of layups, so that meant that they were actually shooting better from 3-point range than they were from the paint. So that was weird. Had a bunch of really notable stats. Thunder set new records for 3.5 threes in a game, assists in a game. They had 40, which is insane. And Russell Westbrook was obviously huge in that, was able to really pick guys out for those threes and make that zone not very effective because they were just knocking down all these shots. He gets a triple-double, you know, stays in, closes the game, gets a triple-double, and that ties him for career triple-doubles with Magic. And so they're tied at number 2 all time. So big night for him in that regard. You had Dennis Schroeder set a new career high in threes. You had Jeremy Grant, who I feel like every other week we keep bringing up a new career high, but he had a career high in points. So a bunch of guys stepped up against a very, very short-handed Bucks team to come out and really, like, the result was even more lopsided than the actual score was. It was very clear, you know, not too far into that fourth quarter that Thunder was going to win kind of by a landslide. All of the West Coast games have not wrapped up at the time that I'm recording this, so I can't tell you who the Thunder's matchup will be, but they're avoiding Golden State, so that's huge. Thunder has had really, these last 5 games, they've really been able to have their fate in their own hands, which is a good place to be. Granted, there are so many teams in the West that are so close, so they're not entirely sure what their opponent is going to be. But in terms of seeding, with those 5 wins to 5-game winning streak to finish the season, they got that 6th seed. So it's going to be a better matchup than Golden State is all we know at this point.